For the first time ever, a former US president is arrested on criminal charges. San Jose State professors give us their take on Donald Trump's arraignment and on the potential political fallout ahead.
Closer to home, there's another scandal. This one involves the San Jose Police Officers Union. The group's highest-ranking executive is accused of dealing drugs. And there's plenty of fireworks following the blockbuster revelation.
San Jose State University has pushed to make public transit safer, cheaper, and more accessible. But later on, I find out why SJSU students are still reluctant to ride.
And find out about cleanup on one of San Jose's most expansive and scenic parklands. It's only a hop, skip, and jump away from San Jose State.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at San Jose State University, your source for what's happening with a fresh perspective on today's issues. You're watching Update News.
I'm Alejandra Vaca Sotelo.
And I'm Madeleine Dowds. We begin with an unprecedented move. Former President Donald Trump indicted, arrested, and arraigned in a New York courtroom on multiple felony charges. It's the first time in our history that this has happened. The former president entered a not guilty plea, but this may be just the beginning of his troubles with the law. Reporter Lee Van Johnson has our top story.
Former President Donald Trump is in the midst of his campaign to run for re-election, but it's going to be a bumpy ride. A New York grand jury indicted Trump on 34 felony counts. It accuses him of first-degree falsifying of business records. He is the first United States president to face criminal charges. Manhattan Attorney General says Trump made the false statements to cover up other crimes he was committing, one closely related to the 2016 elections.
Donald Trump, executives at the publishing company American Media Incorporated, Mr. Cohen, and others agreed in 2015 to a catch-and-kill scheme. That is, a scheme to buy and suppress negative information to help Mr. Trump's chance of winning the election.
San Jose State political science and public administration professor Robert Ovitz addressed the optics. The indictment is the first in American history.
Well, it's pretty earth-shattering. No sitting president or former president ever been indicted for any crime. President Clinton came close. He negotiated a deal at the end of his tenure as president to avoid charges and ended up paying a fine. So this is pretty monumental. However, we should also keep in mind that this is a pretty low-level series of charges.
Former Chief Administrative Law Judge Karen Clopton notes that Trump could have gotten away with the crime had he not lied about the reason for the expense.
You know, hush money is not illegal. But what is illegal is to claim that it was something else on your business records, which are then used for tax purposes. The issue is that Donald Trump paid his lawyer, Michael Cohen, or repaid the $130,000 as legal expenses, not for, in fact, a payment to Ms. Daniels.
Trump denies the charges and is lashing out at the prosecutor, the judge, even the judge's daughter. He claims the charges are political.
Never thought anything like this could happen in America. Never thought it could happen. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it. The criminal is the district attorney because he illegally leaked massive amounts of grand jury information.
Trump will return to court on December 4th to face Judge Juan Merchan, who will decide the next move in the case.
The former president is also the subject of multiple other criminal investigations. A Georgia grand jury is investigating possible election interference in the 2020 elections. The Department of Justice is looking at two cases: the possible mishandling of classified documents and whether Mr. Trump was part of the January 6th attempt to overthrow the 2020 election results.
A scandalous and shocking accusation against a leader of the San Jose Police Union has rocked the community. 64-year-old Joanne Marion Segovia is accused of running an international drug operation, buying and selling opioids, including fentanyl. Reporter Brianna Bartlett got a look at the charging documents, and she will explain why community groups are up in arms.
The charging documents allege that Segovia carried out some of those transactions while at the police union office. Now the union is launching an internal investigation, but the NAACP and other community groups are demanding more than that.
POA, you can't hide, we can see your shady side.
These were the words shouted by a coalition of community groups, including the San Jose NAACP, San Jose watchdog group Silicon Valley Debug, at a rally in front of City Hall. The group says the San Jose Police Officers Association shouldn't be investigating itself. Joanne Marianne Segovia, the executive director of the police union, is accused of importing and distributing opioid drugs, including fentanyl. The group is asking how the 64-year-old could get away with it for so long, and who else knew about it.
She's no Betty Crocker. She's an international drug cartel person killing our people in our streets.
In an 11-page criminal complaint, prosecutors allege Segovia used POA resources to receive and send drugs. She also allegedly used her office computer for purchases. Federal agents discovered that within the last 7 years, Segovia had more than 60 shipments mailed to her home from Canada, China, Spain, Great Britain, Hong Kong, Hungary, India, and Singapore.
Anyone else want to take a mic?
Gilroy Councilmember Rebecca Armendariz asked the group if she could speak. She said the deadly drug has hit her city hard.
Most recently in Gilroy, we lost 3 dads, 3 really beloved dads to fentanyl poisoning. And, who knows who brought those pills in, but we know for sure that this person was trafficking in thousands and thousands of pills.
The coalition is asking for an outside investigation of the POA.
We believe that what was exposed today eliminates any shred of credibility that may have been proposed from the San Jose Police Officers Association.
The coalition is calling on the city of San Jose to no longer recognize the police union as a negotiating body in its contracts. Segovia is expected to enter a plea at her next court appearance later this month. Live in San Jose, Brianna Bartlett, News.
Here's an update on a local story we brought to you a few weeks ago. The collapsed Silicon Valley Bank now has a new owner. The Santa Clara-based lender was recently bought by its rival, First Citizens Bankshares of North Carolina. You'll recall last month a run on the bank by depositors brought down Silicon Valley Bank. It also sank Signature Bank and wiped out more than half the market share of several other regional lenders. Analysts say the takeover by First Citizens will be further explained that firms reach in California's technology sector.
The Guadalupe River Park and Gardens has been called San Jose's answer to Central Park. The largest urban park around is a spot where residents can connect with nature and each other. This past weekend, volunteers answered the call to help spruce it up. Reporter Alexandra Romero has that story.
With help from a climate action grant, the nonprofit group Hands on Bay Area partnered with the Guadalupe Park Conservancy. Over 30 volunteers turned out this past weekend to roll up their sleeves and work in the historic orchard.
In September, we worked with San Jose, the city, to do a really big volunteer project day. There's 350 volunteers. Over 10 locations.
The Guadalupe Park Conservancy was chosen because they have a really big focus on both environmental impacts and bringing in community, which is something that both organizations believe and stand for. To help maintain this area, the Guadalupe Park Conservancy counts on volunteers. First-timers are given lessons on the spot.
I liked it. I've never really been into gardening or planting, and I've always kind of wanted to try, so it was a nice way to get started and see if I actually enjoyed it or not.
The orchard is 3.3 acres. It has more than 200 fruit trees that have been growing since the 1930s and 40s. The harvested fruits are donated to the Second Harvest Food Bank of Silicon Valley and local shelters.
The park was designed in mind with retaining the history of San Jose being the agricultural center, as everyone might have heard, or in case you haven't, the heart of the Valley of Delights.
Until this event ended, there are more volunteer opportunities for the future. The conference hosts volunteer days for the historic orchard, rose garden, and trail cleanup. Hands on Bay Area has events almost every day that range from food to gardening. In San Jose, Alexandra Romero for Update News.
By now, we know that recycling is good for the environment, but some of the things you throw in the recycling bin may not be recycled the way you think. Reporter Heather Allen finds out what happens to some of those items and has some tips on how to do better.
Not all recycling is created equal. Glass and aluminum can be recycled indefinitely. Even paper products can find new life on the other side of the recycling bin. But when it comes to plastics, that isn't necessarily the case.
Say that plastic gets downcycled instead of recycled, where it gets turned into maybe a lesser piece of plastic, but eventually ends up in the landfill or the ocean.
Plastics are separated by their number at the Materials Recovery Facility, or MRF. Then it's packaged and sold to a third party to process into other products.
Recycling's great, but if you can just avoid using it, it's best, because recycling involves, number one, they pressure wash it, and then it gets melted. And that basically melted, and then reprocessed into a usable product.
Furthermore, you can't recycle single-use plastics like plastic wrap or shopping bags. And even if you do throw them in the recycling bin, they'll still end up in the landfill. That's why it's important to check if something is recyclable and make sure it's clean before throwing it in the bin.
And people really want to do the right thing by recycling, but recycling the wrong things doesn't always help. So wish cycling can pose as a challenge because workers at the MRF will have to spend extra time or even stop all equipment to go in and manually remove these items that shouldn't go there.
The City of San Jose has additional resources available at sanjoserecycles.org to help you recycle clean. Still, experts say the best way to keep plastic out of the landfill is not to use plastic at all. In San Jose, I'm Heather Allen, Update News.
When we come back, coming up, that cup of joe you enjoy every morning, how much is too much of a good thing? We'll hear about the latest study.
And watch out, you may want to steer clear of certain frozen fruit at the grocery store. Details just ahead.
Springtime is officially here and the sunshine is out, but is the rain over yet? Tune in to find out next.
At San Jose State, we really do learn by doing. This is my first semester working on our award-winning newspaper, the Spartan Daily. But my whole time here really has been about real-world skill building. Professors like Diane Garazi continue their work in journalism while bringing that knowledge back to us in the classroom each semester. Then we're on the Spartan Daily, Update News, or the Spear. We get to put all that into practice. We even get to work with cutting-edge tools like our new VR lab, where we get to learn new ways of real storytelling using 3D virtual reality.
Our students have many opportunities to work in newsrooms that function like the ones they will encounter in their professional careers. Here in Update News, for instance, we produce a weekly show that is aired on local access television in San Jose, and we produce video news that is digital first. Students will get experience as producers, anchors, and field reporters.
The Spartan Daily, our award-winning student newspaper, has not missed a scheduled publication date in more than 80 years and remains one of the longest-standing papers of its kind in the Western United States. Through classroom instruction and our newsroom labs, we give our students the tools to succeed and create their own bright futures. Learn by doing. If you're interested in joining our program, visit our website for more information.
Riding public transit can be cheaper and more sustainable than driving, but many students steer clear of it. Why? They say it's just not safe. So I set out to find what's being done to get students on board.
Day by day, San Jose State students and staff flock to campus by car. That means facing traffic jams, sky-high gas prices and limited parking. But still, many are hesitant to ride San Jose's public transit system, despite many alternative options available. In the last 2 years, public transit assaults have skyrocketed. San Jose State University has recently partnered with VTA to launch an initiative to encourage students to ride public transit in the Bay.
The programme includes free bus and light rail travel with a Clipper card. Additionally, SJSU students can claim deals on Lyft to and from campus.
The goal is to provide, as many options as possible that are affordable, accessible, and easy to use for students.
But Amina chooses to drive her car most places for the sake of her well-being.
Safety is probably my main concern with public transportation in San Jose, but if I heard that they were implementing more safety measures and stuff, then I'd definitely be more inclined.
Some students choose to maximize the transport opportunities available to them, even if this may jeopardize their personal safety. Scarlett is an international exchange student who doesn't have access to a car. She rides San Jose public transit regularly.
I think that one of the only cons would be feeling a little unsafe at times, but I do think if you're vigilant and keep to yourself and just travel safely, then the pros massively outweigh the cons.
SJSU Transportation Solutions recognise that safety is a significant barrier to students riding public transit. They are currently working to improve this.
Anything that's kind of not within our direct control, we really try to advocate to the service providers, and that's including safety and service. And I think with being able to be kind of the person and the voice of the community, then we can help make those improvements that will make transit more attractive.
But is savings, safety and service enough for the students of SJSU? A new national survey says more and more college students are dealing with mental health issues. Asia Tebeno looks at what resources San Jose State offers to help students.
According to the latest Healthy Minds survey, college students are experiencing all-time high rates of depression, anxiety, and suicidality. Experts are looking for the reasons, but psychologist Latricia Terry suspects the pandemic played a big role.
Many students faced hardships, like a loss of a family member, loss of job, isolation, and lifestyle changes that they were not prepared for, which caused the ultimate increase in anxiety and depression, which caused the students' mental health state to decrease.
This student, who we are not identifying, shares what happened to her during the pandemic.
I was diagnosed during the pandemic with bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder. So going through college while experiencing that has been quite difficult.
But she says she is getting help.
There are resources. I went through SJSU CAPS last semester when I kind of went through something difficult with my partner. That really helped me out. So going to SJSU CAPS to just do some therapy sessions there was really, really nice. And then she had referred me to another therapist outside of that who I am still currently seeing. And therapy helps for sure.
The resources talked about earlier are offered here at the Student Wellness Center located in the CAPS office. CAPS is counseling and psychological services aimed to help students adjust to college, locate their developmental needs, improve their academic performance, create meaningful relationships, and be able to cope with life crises. Other students told us they are getting help too, even for help coping with a failed relationship.
So, my professor, when she referred me to the mental health specialist at the Wellness Center, I was really happy I went, just because the mental health specialist, she did a really good job of just kind of reassessing my mindset, just get me back on track.
CAPS has a resource list of 24-hour crisis lines that students have access to and encourage any student in need of counsel and or psychological support to use. I'm Asia Tebeno, Update News.
Coffee drinkers, we've got good news and bad news. Here's the good news first. Drinking coffee can boost your steps as by much as 1,000 a day, but there's a trade-off. You might just lose a little sleep. A study published in the New England Journal of Medicine examined the immediate effects of coffee consumption. Turns out coffee drinkers get in as much as 1,000 more steps than non-coffee drinkers. Dr. Gregory Marcus, Associate Chief of Cardiology for Research at UCSF, led the study. He's a coffee drinker, and it sparked his interest.
I didn't begin drinking coffee until my 40s, so I'm a latecomer, and I think some of that has led to my interest. I think it gave me a lens into being able to see this world and just noticing man, there are a lot of people really addicted to coffee and drinking a lot of coffee. What's going on here?
It found that coffee did not cause a common type of palpitation called premature atrial contractions, or PAC, but they did see a small increase in the lower chamber of the heart, known as PVC, premature ventricular contraction, and irregular heartbeat. Cardiologist Dr. Benowitz says caffeine tolerance and genetics played a role in the study.
So slow metabolizers, if they take the same amount of caffeine as a fast metabolizer, they have higher caffeine levels. So they might have more caffeine effects.
For Dr. Benowitz, coffee helps him maintain a healthy heart.
I find coffee is really useful. When I'm cycling, I'm getting tired, to sort of give me a boost.
Internal med physician Dr. Vivek Gupta says the amount of coffee consumption depends on how busy our lives are.
When you drink too much caffeine, it just becomes like a molecule that you rely on. And like right now, I am relying on that molecule.
Although coffee helps you take extra steps throughout the day, researchers also found people lost 36 minutes of nightly sleep on the days they consumed coffee.
A warning for shoppers: if you buy frozen fruit from Costco or Trader Joe's, you might want to check to see if your batch has been recalled because of an outbreak of hepatitis A. Reporter Brianna Mathor has the story.
Trader Joe's put up a warning sign telling customers to check their Best By dates for organic tropical fruit. It could be contaminated with hepatitis A. The FDA is also warning people to stay away from brands like Simply Nature, Vital Choice, Kirkland Signature, and Trader Joe's Organic Tropical Fruit Blend. I spoke to Susanna Liu, who's an environmental health specialist for Public Health of Santa Clara, and she commented that the food in this instant, the frozen fruit, was contaminated during the handling phase at the farm or the packaging facility, which caused the hepatitis A. Now, Trader Joe's has issued to all customers that if you have purchased any of the tropical organic fruit blend, to either throw it out or go back to the store for a full refund. The FDA says the outbreak of hepatitis A virus linked to frozen organic strawberries were imported by a common supplier from certain farms located in Baja California, Mexico. Now, if you ate any of these recalled frozen fruits, this Kaiser Health provider says look out for these symptoms:
fatigue, nausea, stomach pain.
Experts say hepatitis A is often spread by an infected person handling food and not properly washing their hands. Walker says you could get vaccinated.
Is to get vaccinated.
I buy frozen fruit at Costco all the time, but when I heard about the hepatitis outbreak, I stopped.
If you have consumed any of these brand name frozen fruits within the past 2 weeks or see symptoms of hepatitis A virus, you should contact your healthcare provider for more information. In San Jose, I'm Brianna Mathor, Update News.
Our San Jose State campus, as well as the rest of the Bay Area, got a jolt this week. A 4.5 magnitude earthquake struck near Hollister. That's about 40 miles from San Jose State campus. April is Earthquake Preparedness Month, and there are plenty of resources available to get you ready for the next Temblor. You can download the free Quake app called MyShake app to get warnings a few moments before. Are we finally done with the rain? Joshua Gilman has your 7-day weather forecast.
This is Joshua Gilman with your 7-day local forecast, starting with the next 5 days highlights. We do have some drizzly conditions actually Friday and Saturday. The rain's not over yet. You thought it was. Spring is here, but we're still going to get some drizzle into Saturday. No worries though, because it will be sunny on Sunday and Monday, but it will be cloudy the rest of the week. Mild temperatures will persist throughout the whole region, right around the 60s. No more than 70 degrees, no more than 59 for the highs. And going into Santa Cruz now for the 7-day forecast, they are going to see those drizzly conditions Friday and Saturday, with highs mainly going to be in the lower 60s. It's going to tap in at 67 on Monday. That's when the ridge of high pressure will build and it'll peak. San Francisco is going to be seeing the same thing with their high at 66 degrees on Sunday, and then the lows will be mainly in the lower 50s as it cools off into the 40s by the later in the weekend. Oakland's going to be seeing, of course, similar conditions to San Francisco, not too far away. They're going to be seeing mainly sunny conditions Sunday into Monday, and then San Jose is going to be, of course, just cloudy the rest of the week. If you're into that glum and gloomy weather, then next week is going to be your week because we're going to have lots of cloudy weather. But if you don't like rain, you're in for a good forecast because the rain is pretty much out of the forecast except for the drizzle on Friday and Saturday. Alrighty, well, that's our 7-day forecast. You could probably put away those umbrellas, but for now, the hoodies will need to stay out. Alrighty, back to the desk.
When we come back.
With the return of warmer weather, it's the perfect time for the sun, the sea, and cruising. Is the cruise industry now full steam ahead after COVID, or is it still taking a bath? We'll have answers.
And next, we'll see if San Jose State's men's baseball came out as winners over their Mountain West rival, the Nevada Wolfpack. Stay tuned.
Following the COVID-19 pandemic, it sure looked like the days of cruising were long gone. But over the past year, the number of people getting back on board a cruise ship has grown substantially. Reporter Carson Wells recaps how that happened.
In 2020, the first large outbreak of COVID-19 outside of China took place aboard the Diamond Princess cruise ship. It ended with 714 infected and 14 dead. And it left the cruise industry struggling to stay afloat. Their shares tanked, some ships were even turned away from destination ports. Under guidelines from the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, the cruise companies worked on improving health and safety measures to persuade passengers to get back on board. They cut capacity to 50% and they made COVID testing mandatory. With the pandemic winding down and rules relaxing a bit, passengers are coming back. Grant Kazi cruised before and after the pandemic. He says he feels safe on board now.
I felt perfectly comfortable on the there was a safety briefing before we got on. They asked our vaccination status, and there were hand sanitizing stations everywhere.
Cassidy Fairless recently took her first cruise.
I am fully vaccinated, so I feel pretty safe going on those type of cruises around a lot of people right now.
According to a COVID-19 vaccination tracker published by USA Facts, at least 81% of Americans have received at least one COVID vaccine dose. Cruise ships are no longer being turned away from ports. The ships have also returned to sailing at capacity. The CDC is no longer regulating cruise travel, but still recommends staying up to date with all of your vaccinations, testing before you travel, and checking the COVID-19 requirements for any destinations you're traveling to. In San Jose, I'm Carson Wells, Update News.
Turning to sports, San Jose State men's baseball put up a lot of runs in their final matchup versus Mountain West rival Nevada. Reporter Levan Johnson has our sports update.
San Jose State's baseball team brought home a series win after taking 2 out of 3 games over the Nevada Wolfpack. Junior second baseman Charles McAdoo finished the game hitting a spectacular 3 of 5 with 4 runners batted in. McAdoo went on to win Mountain West Player of the Week after his gameplay over the past 4 games. Junior shortstop Theo Hardy got his first home run on the season, hitting a solo shot in the 7th inning to give San Jose its 12th run of the game. The Spartans went on and finished off the Wolfpack 13-12. Next, they will be heading to New Mexico to take on the Lobos. That's it for your sports update this week. I'm Levan Johnson.
Looking for something to do this weekend? Carson has suggestions in this week's Carson's calendar.
Here's what's coming up this week. April 8th, attend the Heritage Rose Garden Volunteer Workday. The event goes from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at the Rose Garden. Also on April 8th, check out the Hillview Park Community Day from 8:45 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Hillview Park. Finally, on April 8th, run or watch the 2023 Big Bunny 5K. Scan the QR code below to sign up to be a runner and find out more information. That's all for this week. I'm Carson Wells.
And that does it for this week's edition of Update News.
From all of us here, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.